Caleb Hammer is a right-wing propagandist, right? Yeah, this guy that yells at poor people for, like, being poor, it's not apolitical. Because his whole entire platform is based on finding people that are struggling financially and blaming them for their problems, which in individual cases seems harmless, but consistently showing stories of poor people that are struggling because they refuse to get out of bed does nothing but promote this fallacy that the reason there is poverty in America is because of individual choices.
So if you've been paying attention to the internet.com as of late, one of the things that you might have noticed is that Caleb Hammer and his show Financial Audit are going viral absolutely everywhere. People are going crazy over this. And the reason why is because Caleb Hammer's show speaks to a truth that we all should know is in fact reality, which is that poor people make poor decisions in the United States of America. And despite overwhelming propaganda about people struggling due to no fault of their own, in reality, when you examine the books, what you ultimately end up discovering.
But you live in a major metro area of the United States. I'm not, you saying you can't get a job and you're going to allow yourself to just make $1,000 a month while having 2 kids is not acceptable.
I didn't say I can't get a job.
Then go get a fucking job.
I'm going to show up for my kids. I'm going to choose to make a little bit less so that I can show up for my kids.
Sometimes showing up is they need resources.
They do.
And you are not providing.
They have everything that they need.
You are choosing not to work, so the taxpayer is giving you food stamps.
I'm not choosing not to work.
Yes, you are.
I do work.
Come on, you make $1,000 a month via your choice.
I do work.
You could go make more.
I could go make more.
Go get a job. Work 40 hours a week, 9 to 5.
I don't want to.
There it is. Government, Kansas, Missouri, take away her food stamps right now. Did you just hear that? Take them away. I'm not even kidding.
I will
You
say,
don't want to? F you. That is not a choice.
Don't want to.
Huh?
I don't want to.
Then that is not fair. That is not a choice. Subsidies should be there and even more for those who cannot. You can, and you're choosing not to because you do not want to. And I knew the more and more I pushed on it, we would find out that you're doing this because you want to. Straight up. Not because you can. Using ADHD and autism? Yes. Is he able to communicate with other people?
Yes.
Okay, then I don't want to hear it.
Is that these people are in fact the authors of their own peril. And because Caleb Hammer's show not only demonstrates this, but inadvertently demonstrates that many of these people are actively scamming our welfare systems, he has become public enemy number 1 among the left wing, who are now spreading all these crazy rumors about how he's a fascist, how his podcast is the beginning stage of the alt-right pipeline, and in reality, how Caleb Hammer is some kind of shill for capitalism because he dareth look at Disney adults and tell them that they shouldn't be spending all of their money on going to Disney World when they're tens of thousands of dollars in debt.
That is an absolute sign of immaturity, just immaturity, that we're choosing to be Disney adults over an adult. Making it a single adult decision of just paying a bill. You're choosing to be a Disney adult.
I wouldn't say I'm a Disney adult.
You literally just spent $2,000 when
I go along with what she does.
What, you can't speak up? Are you not able to?
I was okay with it though. I wanted to go.
So you're an enabler and you did want to, so you're a Disney adult.
And this is what I want to talk about today. I want to go over Caleb Hammer a little bit and the backlash against him, spill the tea, if you will, sip the tea, if you will. I don't know why I'm talking so much about tea, possibly because this video is brought to you by Lyon's Tea Exchange. More on that later after I have myself a little sip of this. So for those of you who are unaware, friend of the channel, Sydney Watson, has actually started her own tea company. It's called Lyon's Tea Exchange, and I have to be perfectly honest with everybody out there in the audience. Normally, when people start selling tea or coffee, I get a little bit sketched out, but the product should speak for itself, and it's actually really good. Now, of course, Sydney does the organic thing. Everything is high quality. Even the packaging of these particular products looks absolutely amazing. Makes a perfect gift, by the way, for the holiday seasons, and she has a bunch of different flavors, including your standard normal basic bitch flavors, like your emerald green, your Earl Grey, your New York breakfast, and of course, she has a bunch of more artisanal blends. Now, this would include your peppermint white chocolate. This would also include her apple cider flavor, which, by the way, is amazing, and the one that I have right here that I specifically tried because I didn't think I was going to like it, which is the root beer flavor. And all I have to say about this thing is that this does things to my brain that I can't quite explain. As soon as I opened the package for this, I was greeted with like an aromatic blast of root beer smell. So then I end up mixing up and making the tea, and every time I sip this, I genuinely am confused by how this works, A, and B, how it tastes like root beer and gives the feel of root beer, but also is hot like a tea. Clearly and obviously, Sydney Watson is some kind of demonic witch, but you know what? She used her magical forces in order to make a good cup of tea, so that's why I'm recommending it. Now, for you guys out there in the audience, I've negotiated a 10% discount if you use promo code AJW at checkout, but I really want you to understand that I'm recommending this because I think it makes a great gift. I think it's absolutely delicious. It is high quality materials. And by the way, I have taken no compensation for this ad read other than the samples that were sent to me. I do not get a commission or anything of the sort. I think it's great, so I'm recommending it to you because I think you guys would actually like it. In addition to that, I will also point out that Sydney Watson is currently running up against her holiday deadline, and since she packs the boxes herself and has showed me photos of everything being stacked up in her home, I thought it would be really funny to run up right against her deadline, which is in a couple of days, to get everything out for the holidays, and we flood her with orders so that way she is even more swarmed and maybe considers not packing all the boxes herself individually because obviously it is overwhelming. Basically, what I want you guys to do is put this lady out of commission for a couple of days, bury her in labels, and then laugh about what happens while getting yourself a good cup of tea. So that's LionsTeaExchange.com. Use promo code AJW for 10% off. Again, makes a great gift. Highly recommend. That is LionsTeaExchange.com. Let me sip this one more time.
Not only does he spread this right-wing line, but he also does so in a way that explicitly appeals to right-wing propagandists. LGBT debt. God, I wonder who's gonna connect those two. So I know that every single episode there is plausible deniability that his goal isn't to blame poor people for their problems, or maybe this individual could do better. But collectively, and his editorial choice to consistently bring them on, is pushing the political line. If all you are shown of stories of poor people are not people that got screwed over by a system, or people that are really trying their best and just can't make ends meet, but are stories of people that are struggling because of choices they made or came from privileged backgrounds, which by and large is what Caleb Hammer is showing. And especially if you are given the emotional outlet that he gives to yell at or demean or diminish these people, there is no way that's not reflected in your politics.
So when you look at all these different videos that are criticizing Caleb Hammer from a left-wing perspective, what you ultimately end up realizing is that the thing that these left-wing ideologues hate the absolute most is the idea that you will see yourself as responsible and accountable for your own life, because they know for a fact that if they can sell you on the idea that you are a perpetual victim of circumstances outside your control, that actually makes you easier to control, because essentially they are offering to replace your fictitious overlord with themselves as a more benevolent overlord. And by the way, what we've seen time and time again is that when these policies that these lefties end up advocating for are implemented, guess what? Things get significantly worse for the people that they're trying to help.
Because so many of the beliefs that Caleb expressed are taken as so commonplace and mainstream in American society, it may not seem like an ideology, but it very much is one. It's just one that we're like all fed from birth. It is just that the propaganda machines in these imperial core nations, which I grew up in it, I felt it, I understand how extremely powerful they are. They are so effective, overwhelmingly powerful, and leads to things where Caleb Hammer can make some of these statements where it's not actually challenged by any of thousands of people watching. People just uncritically accept it.
Now, one of the common themes about the criticism of Caleb Hammer that you will see across the internet.com from a left-wing perspective is people saying that because our society is so warped and so right-wing and so already heading towards fascism, that Caleb Hammer's beliefs might actually sound reasonable and not even all that political. You might actually think that he's not making a political statement when he says something like, you should spend less money than you take take in. You should probably not blame everybody else for your own personal problems, and in addition to that, you should also, not be a child and say because you want something, you should therefore automatically get to buy it or finance it in all these different crazy ways, because that is not what adults do. That's what children do. And these people say this guy, by the way, opened his video with this point with a straight face while trying to convince you that they're not the crazy one, they're not the one with the radical beliefs. Everyone else in society, like 95% of society who finds these to be apolitical and not far right at all whatsoever, are in fact being indoctrinated by the far right and are extremely political. They just don't realize it. Again, if your position is Caleb Hammer sounds normal and reasonable to most people, not because he is normal and reasonable to most people, but because most people are indoctrinated by the far right, then maybe, just maybe, you're on the far left and you're one of those crazy people who sees everybody who is to the right of you as far right. Does that thought ever approach any of these people? No, absolutely not. Time and time again, you hear in all of these critique videos excuses, nonsense stacked on top of nonsense, and this is all because these left-wingers want to basically gaslight you into the worldview that in reality they're not the radical. Society is radical. Society is terrible because, again, they want you to avoid looking within yourself and accepting individual responsibility, and this is a common thing among all of these different videos. Look at this person talking about how, the student loan system is responsible for people being in debt.
Just went down a rabbit hole looking at this Caleb Hammer guy's content. Is he a right-wing psyop? It seems like he's specifically targeting millennials and Gen Z and telling them that it's their fault that they're poor. And sometimes it is, but also you need to acknowledge that the world that we were handed isn't the world that our parents promised us. He's a boomer in a millennial's body. I'm half expecting him to say that everybody's broke because of avocado toast. It's really gross to judge people for taking out student loans when they were 18 years old just because you didn't have to.
Now, one of the things that's hilarious about guys like this that are mad at Caleb Hammer for criticizing people for going into debt for all the stupid things they go into debt for is they don't do any research, but they speak with such authority on the issue. Anybody can look up that part of Caleb Hammer's story of getting educated about finance had to do with the fact that he was in a massive amount of debt, and most of that debt, or a huge portion of it, was student loan debt. But this guy just makes up that Caleb Hammer never had to do that. He had to have come from rich parents. He's an evil, bad person, when in reality, what we see time and time again is the people who have everything handed to them in their lives from their parents typically express this guy's worldview, the it's nobody's fault worldview, the I didn't earn anything, so I assume nobody else earned it worldview, and that is the champagne socialist worldview. Now look, the student loan system is flawed. We talked about it on this channel multiple different times, but in reality, because a system is flawed, that doesn't necessarily mean that you use that as an excuse in order to have piss poor behavior when engaging with that system. Now, I've talked about this before on this channel, but I only bring it up as a counterexample to what was presented by that individual right there. But when I was 19 years old, I was interested in going into culinary school. So I visited a campus that I will not name, Culinary Academy of Long Island. And one of the things that I was so off-put by, again at 19 years old, was that as soon as I showed up for this campus tour, the first place that I was taken was to the financial aid office to find out not only how much I can borrow in order to attend for a semester, but also to find out how much my mother could borrow as well. And wouldn't you know it, the exact amount that me and my mother could borrow combined was exactly what the school cost for like a year or 6 months, whatever the length of the program was. Now, when I said I don't like the idea that my mom would have to borrow on behalf of me in order for me to go to culinary school when there is no real guarantee that I will be a successful person post the graduation of this culinary school, something amazing happened again in that financial aid office. The person that was sitting across from me told me, well, a part of your $18,000 in tuition is this knife kit that you get. And they actually brought and sprawled out the knife kit. It rolled out flat. And she said, this is an over $300 value that you actually get to keep for free just for attending this school. And I looked this woman dead in the face and I said, The school costs $18,000. This is a $300 knife kit, according to your estimation. Who the hell would make that trade? That's absolutely insane. And in that moment, I realized that I was in a campus that was set up for dumb idiots, for absolute doofuses that think spending $18,000 and getting something that costs $300 for free is a good deal. And in reality, what I learned watching Financial Audit is that this is basically the mindset of everybody who's on that show.
Yeah, well, Disneyland. And it was only going to be for like 4 days. But then...
Was? Okay.
Yeah, so
what
then
is?
My schedule came out. I didn't work the first 2 days before. And it was the same price. Like the hotel was $40 a night, and then the flight was the same price.
And $200 for Oogie Boogie Bash?
$189, yeah.
Uh-huh. Plus food while you're there.
I'm going to try to hit up a taco truck.
Taco
trucks, free breakfast buffet.
We know you love the buffets.
Now, I don't expect every 18 or 19-year-old to understand that student loan debt is something that can't be discharged. I don't expect them to all have good impulse control and make the best choices. But in reality, when you see these people on this program, what you ultimately end up seeing displayed time and time again is people willfully embracing these terrible choices and honestly patterns of behavior that I grew up around that I fundamentally reject, like borrowing extra money in order to rent a better place while you're in university, which again is somebody who's trying to take advantage of a system that is later on going to play victim and ask for a taxpayer bailout. And no, I'm not in favor of that, no matter how many times you tell me about the sad sack life and the sad choices that this person was presented with at age 18. In reality, you should be informed on the contracts you sign. You should know the terms, and not knowing the terms doesn't mean that you borrow irresponsibly and just have a great time with it. It means that it's incumbent on you to examine the terms, think about the price, and make better choices. But in reality, again, the people that are on Financial Audit oftentimes aren't really talking about student loans. A lot of times they're discussing car loans, like this woman right here who ended up buying a $90,000 Porsche.
You decided to get a Porsche.
Yeah.
And you can't pay for groceries? What do you think this car is worth?
And I bought it for $89,000, and maybe I could get $90,000 for it. I don't think it depreciates as much as other cars.
It's been a Porsche, by the way.
A 21 Macan
Okay.
turbo.
You owe 65 on it. You could probably sell it for 64. So get rid of the Porsche today, dude.
What do I drive? The car that I got is pre-owned. It's not a brand new one.
So let's spend $1,500 a month on a used car. Okay.
So this is what the left doesn't actually want you to see. They just want you to see the headline that this woman is struggling with her car payment and can't afford groceries, but they don't actually want you to examine her choice of vehicle. This woman bought a $90,000 car used. It was a Porsche because she wanted something nice, and she was like, well, I don't think it depreciates as much as other cars, when in reality, this person should be in a $5,000 car.
Sure.
Well, customer service is excellent, and it was only $20,000 more than what I paid for the Ford Edge.
I've never paid $20,000 a month for customer service before.
And those rationalizations about how the customer service at the Porsche dealership is significantly better than the other dealership that she went to does not account for the insanity of that particular car choice. And again, I will point out for you guys out there in the audience that the car that I am currently driving right now, as a successful YouTuber, as somebody who saves enough for retirement, as someone who makes a good living, cost me $30,000. And that $30,000 price tag for a used vehicle, which by the way, I bought with under 10,000 miles on it, isn't really the whole story, because you guys will recall that my Honda Accord was stolen from me and I got a reimbursement check from insurance that was about $20,000. So the amount of money that I put in to that car, the new used vehicle that I purchased, was 10 grand. And I can guarantee you I'm doing significantly better than this woman right here who's driving a $90,000 Porsche because she wanted to have something nice and the customer service was swell when she can't afford to pay for her groceries. And these choices are reflected in multiple different Caleb Hammer videos. He goes over the fact that many of these people get 7-year car notes at exorbitant interest rates, and they say that they justify this based on the fact that the payment is lower, even though again, they're paying significantly more money over time.
How much debt do you have?
Like 168,000.
None of which is a house. Why do you have 2 car loans?
I have 2 vehicles. So it's 58 miles for me to drive to work every day. And the truck is an 8-cylinder Silverado.
Get rid of it.
I can't. I ended up getting like a really great deal on that truck.
Yeah, really great deal. You owe $60,724.55, making 24,000 hours a year. An 84-month car loan? What? 4-month car loan?
I want lower payments.
You know that's not how it works. You are paying more in interest over time. 2024 Kia Sportage. It's $638.70. That's an insane car payment for 7 years.
I feel like 600 is a normal car payment.
Normal.
Well, I'm going to refinance it when rates go down.
Okay, if rates go down.
When rates go down. They will go down for sure.
What?
Yeah. If I can't refinance, then whatever. If I can, awesome.
Whatever. I have an 84-month loan. I'm going to be 40, and I finally paid off my car.
And?
You owe $39,000. It's worth $31,000.
Now, the left wants you to believe that this is all the fault of the predatory car dealerships. And by the way, some people on the right are trying to sell you on this as well. A lot of right-wing reaction to videos about people not understanding the terms of their car loan, borrowing over the course of 7 years, again, according to their own choices, will respond by saying usury is a sin and we should abolish this. Again, disassociating people from their own actual actions, and the reason they want to do that is because they're trying to gain more power over you. And this is something that Caleb Hammer's show, even though it's not explicitly political, fundamentally rejects. He also ends up exposing a bunch of different scams, including scams related to disability, and this is something that the left cannot tolerate as they try to minimize and diminish welfare fraud and all these sorts of schemes throughout our society.
Caleb Hammer doesn't think veterans should get disability. It's like not even close.
Right.
Those that have been through things like an injury or war zone mental health, I want them to have money forever because they serve, but the person who's a cook and experienced nothing, and the fact that you can go to a specialist and get coached on what to say to get 100% disability, the fact that that exists should tell us something. They discredit and do a disservice to those that actually deserve the disability.
So the real reason that the left is saying that Caleb Hammer is right-wing coded or bringing people down the alt-right pipeline is because Caleb Hammer is sane. By the way, I followed him on social media. I've been looking at his different various posts, and one of the things that I've come to the conclusion of is that Caleb Hammer, in a lot of ways, is similar to an Ezra Klein-style abundance liberal in the fact that he wants more housing built. He's not opposed to bike lanes and public transit or anything of the sort. However, he has some limits. He's more moderate in that regard. And again, this is based on what I can see. I don't see him at all as this right-wing individual, but the left is trying to paint anybody who's sane as right-wing, which again should backfire and blow up in their face.
The transactions?
Remember, guys, she's not working as much so she can spend time with kids, and then she spends money so she can go to her competitive cheer. F*** you. Take away her food stamps yesterday. Oh my f***. No, this is insane.
I know.
What the f*** is wrong with you?
A lot.
Dude!
But again, let us not lose sight of the fact that the real reason they hate Caleb Hammer and his success is because you're actually looking at poor people and the choices that they make in the United States of America and finding out what is true for the overwhelming majority of them, which is poor people are poor because they make bad decisions time and time again. And I'm going to let you in on another additional truth that is absolutely crucial if you want to be successful in your life. Even if you're in that percentage of people who are poor through no fault of your own, you have circumstances that were put upon you. We've all been there in certain situations. If you just focus on what you can control, if you actually treat things that you can't control and that impact you as faults that you need to overcome, you will be far better off than if you pretend that all your piss poor choices are on everybody else. Like again, you have people coming onto his show saying that they're poor through no fault of their own and everybody is against them, but then Caleb realizes that they're Orlando residents that pay for flights to go do things like Disney in California because Walt Disney actually walked through that resort.
You're going to Disneyland?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing?
Yeah.
Buddy, you know you live where the best Disney is.
No, that No.
The Orlando Disney is the best Disney. There is more there.
Incorrect.
There is more there.
Incorrect.
But there is more there.
The Walt walked in Disneyland.
I don't give a
We had Roy at Walt.
It's insane. These people are absolutely maddening, and make no mistake about it, they're on the path that they created for themselves. But of course, I want to know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. Do you think Caleb Hammer is secretly right-wing, or do you realize that the left will paint anybody who preaches any level of sanity right-wing, even though, again, this is a guy who gave a very friendly interview to Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, which somebody who is right-wing would not normally do. As per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias. Till next time.